So you know how like when you're in the mode of like getting stuff done, like sometimes you can go 2 3 hours at a time. Other times it's like you can go about a half an hour and get some things done. Well, that was one of the days that I'm like experiencing here today, right? And I got through a series of things, and then I was basically like, okay, I got that done, stopping point. Like now it's time to go and tackle this next section of stuff that I got to do. And I recognize, like, even though I've only been working for a half an hour, and technically I should be able to just jump right back in there and tackle this next section of stuff. It was just like, something was kind of bubbling up inside of me that I just didn't want to do it, or I just, it just was like, it was really hard to get myself to do it. And, uh, and so, like, I was like, all right, you know what, like, for example, I could have just judged it and been like, well, I've only been working for like 30 minutes, so I'm just gonna like suck it up and just do it, right? But I decided to give myself like a 5-10 minute break. And so, at first it was 5 minutes, then it turned to 10 minutes. And point is that like I waited for about five, um, and I noticed that was kind of like when I started to like settle, because I noticed that I was definitely in some resistance towards getting this extra section done. And as I started to let things settle, that's when I started going through my own process, my own transformational healing modality. And I started going through these questions and really just kind of dialing into like how it is that I'm really feeling. And again, it took about 5 minutes of doing this, of going through this process and like really understanding how I'm feeling, and getting deeper into it, because you know how we're feeling is it's very elusive because of the way that we've been conditioned. And so as I was diving deeper into this, I eventually landed on this part of like, you know what, okay, it makes like, in other words, I was judging myself, for the way that I've been living my life over the last, X period of time. And I was like, well, like, it just makes sense. Like, this is kind of how these are the choices that I've been making. That's why I'm feeling the certain way that I'm feeling. And, so at this point, it's just a matter of, taking one step at a time, one choice at a time, and just starting that rise up, you know, because like my diet and my, my work ethic, and the way that I've been showing up, and some of my relationships, I'm just like, all right, so this isn't really like me at my highest and best. And so, you know because I've been making those choices in these major areas of my life, it's like my overall life quality and experience starts to just sort of diminish, or like my energy isn't as high, or et cetera, my mood, right? And it's just like this overall thing where I'm like, I'm just like, I'm not feeling good. Like, I'm feeling really uncomfortable, and I'm feeling like really like, gross, or like just whatever. But as I started getting into this, like, and feeling some of those grosser feelings, and processing those feelings, understanding how to process those feelings, it just turned into this really beautiful thing where, um, it turned into this magical thing, because, once I said, okay, you know what, like, it's just about making one choice at a time, making the next right choice, and starting that rise up, starting that ascension up, and that climb up, in frequency and vibration, because at the end of the day, it's like it takes time to rise up, because if you're living your life a certain way, you've been doing that over the last few days, let's just say, you're not gonna be able to just jump back to like a higher place. It takes time for your diet to adjust back to a better diet. It takes time for your relationships and your work ethic and the consistency and all these things, right? And then you start to lift up again, right? And so I thought, okay, it's just like one step at a time, one choice at a time. And I made a choice in that moment. I was like, all right, so like right in that moment, I was faced with another choice. Like, am I going to just, I was faced with another choice, right? And I chose to do the right thing in that moment that was right for me. And next thing you know, it just cascaded this whole series of events in the next, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, where I was like, yeah, all right, so like let's just ease back into it. I threw on some music, and next thing you know, the song that comes on is just like bam, and it hits me, man, like a ton of bricks, and I'm just like crying, and I'm like, wow, I'm just like having this release of like how I'm really feeling, like not just how I like. It wasn't just like how I got to my own feelings, but it was like I was now lining myself up with timing, with my own higher self, with the divine, if you will, that got me to that deeper release, that got me to that heart opening, because I chose to make the right choices, or the right choice in that moment, because I chose to take the 5-10 minute break, because I chose to use this process that I know of, to get into my feelings, and because I chose to, step back into that next work process and throw on some music. Because of all that, I lined myself up with this magical, like, it's magical, because like it was something much larger than me that I got in contact with. It was something that I was able to line myself up with timing, so that I was able to experience this heart opening, this release, this, you know cracking open of like how I'm really feeling, which wasn't just done on my part. There was something else that met me halfway, because I chose to do something and play my part, make these smaller choices. It created that opening. So, I share this because, it's the most important thing about our feelings has to do with, it's not just emotions. They really are like, it's energetic frequencies, and it really can, it can be like our own, form or use of magic as a human being. Like it's like a superpower in truth. Our feelings and our emotions, and understanding how to navigate those, and then like what happens as a result of really touching down into these deeper wounded parts of us, and being able to actually connect with these parts and heal these parts up. It totally revolutionizes the how you line up with your reality, and what reality lines up with you, as a result of just getting down into like how you're really feeling. But at the same time, you can kind of see here, hopefully by this story and this illustration, that you know the process of getting there is elusive. It's tricky, because of our ego at play, because of our conditioning. To where, again, like, I could have just went right back into my work, you know, not taken a break, and never would have touched down into any of this, and I would have been operating in my life from a place of neediness, from a place of desperation, from a place of rushing to some degree, right? This is all subtle stuff. But that would be more so of the energetic frequency or signature that I'd be operating from. And so, it's this stuff is tricky. It's elusive. But there's obviously a lot of skills here that I just highlighted in terms of like, the balance and learning how to honor yourself, with not going back into that next work piece. The piece about having a modality and getting skilled enough with your modality so that you really can start to peel back layers. You really can start to, like, get down into what's really going on for you, and start to massage or readjust your energetic frequency or your attraction point. Being able to actually, like, just like tweak or tune yourself, based on what it is that you're feeling, and having a deeper understanding of what it is that you're feeling, and from that place being able to obviously, like, do something about how you're feeling from a feeling place. Meaning, I'm not going to go do something in order to make me feel better, perhaps, but more so I'm coming from an essence. I'm coming from what this, let's just say this darker, denser feeling that I'm experiencing, like, what is the frequency shift, or the perspective shift, the reframe, that I need to create or conjure up with inside of myself, so that I can actually settle into a new way of being, which then attracts a new line of experience. And shortly after I made those decisions and had that heart opening, I started getting an influx of energy from other people. I started, having physical manifestations right immediately after that, where I have, someone who I deeply care about, who I've had a lot of, experiences years ago in the past and haven't touched base or talked to in months. And next thing you know, they reach out to me and they send me a little voice note just kind of acknowledging me and how I've been in their thoughts, and how they just wanted to reach out and say hello and those sorts of things. And I had a second person to reach out, again, within minutes of, me having this experience where I lined up with something higher. I lined up with something higher to help me get that deeper opening, that deeper release that I basically consented to through the choices that I made of taking the break, using the modality, and choosing to process. So hopefully this was helpful for you in terms of your own, transformational journey. If you have any questions about how to possibly do this, or any clarifying questions about what it is that I just talked about, definitely reach out. I'm happy to help, and wishing you well on your journey.